Hey guys, today I'm going to be making a guide for playing PrimeHack. So this is a fork of Dolphin that lets you play the Metroid Prime Trilogy using a mouse and keyboard. It also does some other neat little things that just enhance the overall experience. I'm also going to walk you through installing some custom texture packs and my thought process with those, as well as like getting all the settings set up and everything. I got this all tested and ready to go, so I don't have to dick around with this. But I'm gonna walk you through how to install it, where how to do everything. I made a guide too um, about what to do, and I'll put that in the description along with all the links and stuff that you need. So first, you do need to download the Metroid Prime Trilogy. Now, I can't really tell you where to get it. Unfortunately, it's YouTube and Nintendo and just in general, it's a bit of a legal gray area, even though it's not really. The courts have repeatedly ruled that emulation is not illegal and that companies should not try to fight this. But YouTube is still weird about it, and I just don't want to make that liability for myself. So I can't tell you where to get it, but just use your head, chat GPT it if you need to, look it up on Reddit. Just you can figure it out. It's not hard to find it. If you really cannot find it though, I can drop a link to my Discord and you can message me and I'll try to give you some help there. But um, once you have that downloaded, you want to make sure you have Microsoft C++ and the PrimeHack. You don't need Dolphin. So to find PrimeHack, the simplest way, short of just giving a link, um, type in PrimeHack, make sure it's on this Dolphin forum page by Sir Mangler, and then go to the GitHub page, which is right here. I'll just put a link to that in the guide just so you know exactly where it is. Then there's a few more links for the installation. I don't think we need that actually. Just the performance guide. I'll pull it up now because I'll be referencing that. But yeah, all you need to do. There used to be an installer, but I found it really buggy. So just download the zip folder. You open the zip. Um, if you're using WinRAR Windows zip, it's going to look a little different. I hope you know how to zip though, but if not, it's pretty straightforward. Um, I can show you what it would look like through Windows, I think. No, I don't know what. I don't think I have Windows. I think you should know how to zip, but if not, like I said, you open it, you extract it to a folder of your choosing. I just labeled it PrimeHack. Um, that's all you got to do. You just extract the folder. It's just simple enough. It's on your desk. It's on my desktop. You can move this around anywhere. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the folder's labeled. It doesn't matter where you save it. You can move this anywhere you want. This is where you're gonna launch it from. So first step before you do that. Oh, also, sorry. You know what? Let me show you where to get this because you're gonna need this as well. You can just Google that, but I'll just put a link. Just make this simple for you. Okay, so you're gonna need the X64 version, but again, I'll just throw you a link here to save you the trouble. So install this. It's just an exe. Just download it, install it. It's pretty straightforward. I already have it, so I don't need to do that. But okay, so once that's installed, if you have Dolphin already, this is very useful. But even if you don't, I would highly recommend this. But this first step is only for people who have Dolphin. So let me explain. You need to go to your C user's username app data roaming folder. The simplest way to do that is go to the directory, type in percent app data percent. It's a nice little trick. It'll take you right to it. Then you go to Dolphin emulator. Again, if you don't have Dolphin, you don't need to do this. But if you do, what you want to do, copy your cache and config folder and save them somewhere, just somewhere you're going to remember them, and then delete them because that can cause issues with Dolphin. Now, if you don't have Dolphin, you're still going to want to do this next step. So what you want to do is create a portable what you do, I'll just show you. How about that? I'll show you what happens. Okay, delete this. Okay, delete this. I'll show you what this does. So normally, when you launch Dolphin, let me just change a quick setting here just to show you what I'm talking about. So you launch Dolphin, I just changed the settings. You see, sit down and look. If you go to app data, Dolphin emulator, those two files or folders I just deleted are going to be recreated. It's going to save all your settings in here, which is a pain in the ass. If you already have Dolphin, it's going to overwrite your existing Dolphin settings, which is hugely a pain in the ass because your Dolphin settings are going to be different than your PrimeHack settings. But even if you don't have Dolphin, if you only are using PrimeHack, this is still really useful. So what this does, oops, wrong one. What this does is by creating a document, you just need to make a text document, label it portable. I don't think it needs to be capital, but probably does. Actually, it probably doesn't. You make a portable, you make a text file named portable. That's all you need to do. What this does is when you launch Dolphin, see what it did? Oops. It made a user folder here where all these settings are going to be saved. So this will make all your settings separate from Dolphin. But as I said, even if you don't have Dolphin and you're only using PrimeHack, this is very useful because first of all, it's just more accessible having it right here instead of your app data folder. But second, what you can do, if you have a bunch of issues, you can just delete that folder and it'll reset everything to default. And what you can do is you can put your user folder that you backed up right back into here. And it's really handy to do for any kind of debugging and stuff like that. Just a neat little trick I thought I'd go over real quick. But anyway, once you launch it, um, let me delete it again just so I can show you some of the initial settings. I think there's only a couple things you need to do. When you first launch it, you're going to see this. It says you need to set a default directory. So all you need to do, double click here and go to the location where your Metroid Prime ISO is saved. Here, select folder, and then it'll show up automatically every time you launch it. And by the way, before you proceed, right click on it and go to properties and go to info. Make sure that it's this. Make sure it's R3ME01. That's important. That's all you need to do. Just make sure it's that exact series of characters. But I'm going to go ahead and delete my user folder because I already have one with all my settings and everything, and I'll just walk you through all of my settings. So get all that done. The next part is installing the custom textures. Now I already did this, but it's going to be in this user folder. You're going to go to, where is it? PrimeHack user load. So you go to your user folder, load, textures. And this is where you're going to put the texture pack that I will link to. And make sure that it has that file name. It's going to have it if you download it from me. But I combine two different texture packs. You can use whatever texture packs you want, but I combine two and put it into one. Just make sure the folder is this in the textures folder. That's all you got to do. If you're curious, the texture packs that I use are, again, a combination of these two. And I'll, like I said, I have all the links in this file, so you can check it out if you're curious. If you don't want to use both, you don't have to. Like I said, just make sure that's the file name of the folder of the texture packs. But one of them is an interface texture pack that includes some mouse and keyboard interface buttons and different crosshair, as opposed to the stupid fucking Wii crosshair and all those Wii UI buttons. That's the first one. The second one is just a general HD texture pack that just touches up all the image qualities and stuff. I combine them both, um, but I would really just recommend using mine. I've confirmed it works, and it's definitely worth using both of these because I think it's pretty cool. Anyway, put that in there, and again, I'll put a link to that in the description. It's going to be a Google Drive link that I'll put in. I can actually just put the Google Drive in here too when I update this. So you launch it. So there's going to be three different places for settings. First is going to be in properties. Second is going to be config, and then third in graphics. There's also some controller settings, so technically four places. So I'm going to pull up this performance guide and kind of just walk you through some of these. So the first settings are in properties here. I don't think you need to change any of these. Synchronize thread causes a slowdown but resolves many visual glitches. If you don't have a good GPU, you might want to uncheck this. Ideally, you want this off. I don't know if he's saying you want it off if you're having slowdowns. I think that's what he's saying. But yeah, just try to note all of these settings I'm going through. If you have slowdowns, you'll want to change some of these settings. I can't tell you what settings you need to do because I don't know what kind of system you have. I can show you my system just so you have a reference. You do need a pretty good one. You do need a pretty good system if you want to have like all the best settings. I have 25 gigs of RAM, an i5 12th gen, um, and then RTX 4060. If you have an older system, I've run this on my older system. I had a GTX 1080 or 1060, I think. That was a 1060 and an i5 uh, 6500, I believe it was. Um, Not very good system. It's very old, but it could run this game. I just couldn't. I didn't have the luxury of doing all the like super high end settings. So for me, I'm going to be doing the high end settings, but I'll note all the ones I do just so you know what you might need to change. Now this setting, he removed it and made the doors open faster, but for some reason it's not on here, and I looked everywhere and I couldn't find it. So I don't know why he got rid of it, but there's nothing else you need to change here. I think everything else is left alone. Um, yeah, nothing else you need to do here. The next series of settings are going to be in config, I believe. Actually, you know what? I don't think you need to change anything in here. Yeah, no, you don't. Um, Everything should be just left how it is on default. Um, yeah, nothing need to change there. So next thing is going to be in graphics. He goes over different video backends. I find Vulkan to be very shitty. It doesn't seem to work very well. It might depend. I have an NVIDIA. Maybe Vulkan is better for um, what is the other fucking brand? Jesus Christ. AMD. If you have an AMD card, I probably would use Vulkan. I think that's what it's for. I can't really confirm that, but I'd probably recommend doing Direct 3D 11 or 12 to start out. I'm doing 12, but I would probably just do 12. If that doesn't work, do 11. If that doesn't work, try Vulkan. Um, VSync, I would recommend. I have it forced already through my video card, so I don't need to put that on. Now, this next part is pretty important because this will cause a lot of issues. Um, so, hybrid is good if you have like a good system that has like a decent GPU and a decent CPU. Exclusive is good if you have a really bad CPU and a really good GPU. Like if your system is bottlenecked by your CPU, I would put that on. But I've shown you my system. I have a good CPU and a good GPU. But even with this on, I was getting slowdowns. So I had to put mine on hybrid. So I don't know exactly what the deal is with this. Like, I don't know if it works better if you have a shitty GPU, or sorry, if you have a shitty CPU, but a really good GPU. Maybe it's better. I don't really know. It says very powerful GPU. I thought an RTX 3060 was very powerful, but apparently not because I was getting issues. Granted, I have a lot of settings at the absolute max, so that could be why. But I don't think it makes a difference in terms of quality. It's just about stuttering, which is a huge, huge issue in this game. So this is another setting I would definitely check if you're having issues. But for now, leave it on hybrid. Check this because this will compile all the shaders the first time you run. Um, he says it can take 10 to 2 minutes the first time you launch, but when you launch it the next time, it'll save it all the shaders, so it won't have to do that every time. So I highly recommend checking that. So let's go to enhancements. So this is what I have. Um, you want the internal resolution ideally to be as high as it can, um, but at the very minimum, just put it at have it match your monitor. So if you have 720p, do that. 1080p, do that. 1440p, do that. And anti-aliasing is it can cause a serious performance drop, and that might have been why I was getting slowdowns because I have mine all the way. I don't think it makes a substantial difference in terms of graphical fidelity. So if you're having slowdowns, just put that on none. Texture filtering, he says it does not make a huge difference in performance. But again, if you're having slowdowns and you've changed anti-aliasing already and every other setting I went over so far, probably worth putting in this on default. Um, Scaled EFB, this should be checked. Um, don't think there's anything else you need to change here. Um, Now this part was a little confusing because he has this checked, but he doesn't make any note of why this should be checked. It's not checked by default, so I was a little confused by it. Ignores any request from CPU to read or write to the EFB, improves performance, but will disable graphical effects. So check this if you're having performance issues. Otherwise, leave it unchecked. Is what I would say. These should also be checked. Fast app. See, this is the problem. These guides, I swear, like they're obsolete immediately, and mine's going to be obsolete probably within a few months of making this. But it's funny, even from the guy who made PrimeHack, these are already outdated. Some of these settings just aren't here, or they've been moved around. But whatever. Um, oh, he did move this down here. Okay, but I know some of his settings were just straight up removed. Like um, this setting here, I could not find it anywhere, and it sounds really nice because it makes the doors open faster. But I don't know where that setting is. It sounds like he just got rid of it. So there's a few other settings I think he moved around, but for the most part, you don't need to change most of these. So just keep that in mind. A lot of this just you can just leave it on default. Now, let's make sure I got everything here. Yeah, just curious what this does. Yeah, I don't think you would. I don't think I would change that. Don't change anything else here. Okay, so advanced. I put FPS on. It's just nice to know what your FPS is, so you can know if you're having issues. Now, if you're installing those custom textures that I showed you, make sure this is checked. And I'd also recommend this if you have you probably don't need that much RAM really. I think I like I said in my old system, I think I only had 8 gigs of RAM, and I had this checked and it was fine. But I have 25 now and it's more than enough. So I'd recommend checking this because it can fix stuttering. If you don't have a lot of RAM though, um, might want to uncheck that. Um, Advanced settings, that's nothing else on here that he talks about. If you have the Vulkan backend on, he does recommend putting on backend multi-threading, but I found Vulkan just to be shitty just in general, not just PrimeHack, but for Dolphin in general. So probably don't need to change that. Um, PrimeHack GFX. These are some more personal preferences. Lead of this on. This is just some of the old OG GameCube gun effects, like you've gun smoking and some other things. Um, Not really sure what this does. Oh, you know what this does? It makes it so your arm cannon doesn't move around with this stupid fucking Wiimote control thing. I always thought they looked terrible. The original game didn't do that. In here, this will make it so your arm is, it says it's repositioning, but what it actually means is your arm cannon doesn't like move around. It kind of just stays locked in place, which I think it just looks a lot cleaner. Um, Field of view, it's default to 60, which is just crazy. Like it looks claustrophobic as fuck. If you want the original experience, I would leave it at 60. If you want like a compromise, I would say 75. I would not recommend going over 90. If you go over 95, it causes some issues. He even mentions that um, once you go over 94, it disables culling. I don't know exactly what that is, but you really don't need it past 90. But if you really want to, I think you need to disable culling. It sounds like it does it automatically, but you might need to check it. But I would recommend 75 or 90, or if you want the original experience, you can do 90 or 60. But I think 90 or 75 is probably better, but just personal preference. Um, the rest of these you don't need to change. And then for controllers, this is designed around a mouse and keyboard, so I don't know why you'd want to use a controller, but if you can, he has instructions on how to do that. Um, if you go to controllers on that side here, there's a bunch of instructions. I don't really know how to do that. I'm just using a mouse and keyboard. So these are all the settings that I did. Shoot is mouse one, space is jump, map is tab, menu is escape. To note something real quick, escape is normally a hotkey for Dolphin or PrimeHack. So what you want to do is go to options, hotkey. Where is that setting? Stop is normally escape by default. It just stops the emulation. So if you want to use escape to access the menu in the game, in Metroid Prime, I mean, change this to F11. So that's how you can stop the emulation if you need to. But in the game, I would put it on escape. I just personally think it's more intuitive. So, um, and then visor menus. I don't know. I've never used that. Um, Missile, that's up to you. It defaults to F. I put it on my mouse 3 button. If you have a mouse with multiple buttons, that's totally up to you. You can do middle mouse too, whatever you want. Morph ball set to control. Lock on is mouse 2, so your right click. Now the beam settings, you're gonna see them being way different. It's very confusing and complicated. I like it simple. Make it 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all you need to do. There's a beam menu option you can use in like a next beam, previous beam thing. I really could not figure out how to get that to work. It was very confusing. You don't really need any of that. Like, what? There's no point in having next beam when you can just switch between any of them at a whim. So just have them on 1 to 4. That's what I recommend. That's what I like. Same with the visors. You don't need any of this shit. It's so stupid. Just put a ZX CV. They're all right next to each other. That's all you need. Spring ball. That's when you're in morph ball. You press Alt to jump. Grapple is shift. Nothing else you need to change there. And then you want to type in whatever, type in something, hit save, and it'll save this. And this setting is in your user folder. So if you mess something up and you can't figure out how to like do anything, I would recommend again backing these up, deleting them, and starting over. I think the graphic or the control settings are like, are they in here? Yeah, they're in here actually. So if you don't want to lose all your graphic options, your controller options are in here, and the graphics settings are, I don't even know. It's confusing, but um, I think that's everything you need though. Let me double check the controller stuff. Yeah, I didn't change anything else. You don't even need to use the movement stick. Oh yeah, actually you do. You can use WASD or you can use up, down, left, right. Um, doesn't really make a difference, whatever you think. WASD, if you're a PC gamer, it's what everyone uses. It's far more intuitive. I assume if you're using this, you're a PC gamer, so I don't think I need to get into why this is what you should use. But if not, this is what you should use. So Yeah, this is everything. Um, Now, when you launch the game, you should see something that says loaded custom textures. You should also see um, a custom menu. I'm not seeing it for some reason. I think I probably need to relaunch the game. So you should be seeing some of those texture mods, but I'm not seeing them yet. So let me make sure that they're actually in here. Load textures. Yeah, they should be in here. I think sometimes you need to launch it a couple times for them to actually work. But let me make sure I had that setting on. Load custom, yeah. It should be showing up. Well, let's see. Oh, it's still not showing up. That's right. Some of it's showing up. You can see that there's mouse icons, but there's one other thing I saw. It showed like a little custom loading screen. I don't think it really matters, but yeah, there you go. If you see that, you'll know that the texture packs are working. I think you might need to launch it a few times because these textures just take a long time to. I don't know exactly what it does. It stores them in RAM and then it stores them in your hard drive, I think. But I would launch the game, just let it run for however long you need to the first time. You might need to relaunch it a couple times. But once you see that little custom loading screen, once you see the custom mouse icon here, the texture pack doesn't really. So I made a save state. Um, so I'm just gonna launch that. If you want to know how to, sorry, I'm gonna turn on the volume here. If you want to know how to make a save state, when the game's launched, go to select save slot, select slot one or whatever one you want, save state, and then go to save to selected slot. This will save your game as like a snapshot, so you don't have to load it like this manually from the actual game menu. And then go to here, and it'll load right in. So, okay, yeah. So this is the game. You can see like it has a little different icon for the cursor. The 90 FOV makes you feel like Doom Guy because you run really quick. I think it makes it more exciting personally, but um, yeah, all the controls are working exactly how you want. Um, X is to switch to your visor, but other visors will be so your normal visor that I'm using now is Z, so you can switch back by pressing Z, or you can just press the shoot button. Um, and then when you have the beams, you'll press 1 to 4 to switch through them. I can't do that now because I don't have them, obviously, but as you can see, I mean, it looks fucking good. Um, Even the background of the space here is different. If you remember the original, it was all like blobby and blurred and just shitty, but the texture packs improved that. And you can see like the menu has all these custom icons, sort of the stupid Wii icons. Um, you can even see in the main menu they have not only to increase the resolution and fidelity, but it has all those mouse icons. I just think it's nice, just a little bit more immersion, consistency. Um, so two common problems you might run into. If you don't have sound, make sure it's on HLE. It should be by default. Make sure it's on this. Now, if you weren't getting sound for some reason, I found it worked to go to no audio output, and then back to cube B, and it fixed the issue. Like I said, I wasn't getting audio the first time I launched it, and I changed that. And it fixed it for some weird reason. Um, Another thing to check if you're having issues right away, the first thing to check, go to your backend. Try each one of these. Try 11, 12, and Vulkan. Switch between those. If you have a really, really good graphics card and a really shitty GPU or really, really shitty CPU, I would recommend trying this. But I think hybrid is better. When I put it on exclusive, like I said, it was really slow. Next thing, turn off anti-aliasing, turn off texture filtering. Um, there were some other settings in here. I don't think that would affect the performance. This might be worth checking if you need improved performance. It might disable some graphical effects. I'm not entirely sure what, but um, might be worth checking if you have some slowdowns. I forgot to go over this too. Texture cache. By default, it's on fast. I put mine on fast just because I have a good system. I don't think you need to check this, but if you have a CPU where it's a bottleneck, this might be worth doing. Might be worth checking that. It might be worth leaving this on fast. Yeah, so if you have low video or low RAM, it might be worth checking this too. It was checked by default, so I didn't even change it. This is probably worth. Oh, so it says you should disable this for improved frame pacing. So you might actually want to disable that if you have a good system. But if you don't, I would check that. Um, VSync, as I said, probably you should have that on. It just makes it, it reduces screen tearing. But if you have slowdowns, you might want to disable that. I don't think there's any other settings that would really cause huge differences with performance. But like I said, I would look through the performance guide, just kind of read through all this, debug it. And if you can't figure it out, like I said earlier, you can go to your user folder. If you go to file, user, that's how you can get to it easily. I would recommend backing these up, saving. You could probably save your, um, where was that? Cache, right? Profiles, Wiimote. Save this, and then just delete everything else. And redo it. It's sometimes the simplest. Sometimes there's settings you might have turned on without realizing or something. It's just useful for debugging. And if you think if it's like almost working, but you can't quite tell what the issue is, you could back them up, or you could back up this whole user folder, save it, start over. If it's still not working again, put back the original user folder, and then go through here again, look through the settings. There's going to be a lot of trial and error, but it is what it is. Every system's different, so I can't tell you what settings you need to do, but these are the ones I had, and it works great. So, but yeah, like I said, I'll have a link to everything. I'll have a link to the C++ redistributable. I'll have a link to the GitHub page, the texture interface pages. I'll, also just update some of these settings, make sure everything here makes sense. Kind of went over most of this already, but in case you wanted some more information, that's pretty much everything though. If you have any questions though, feel free to drop a comment, and I will see what I can do to help. But yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you guys found this useful, and yeah, I'll catch you next time. See ya.